this chart actually is plotting two things. The dark line is the realized volatility of gold, and the light blue line is the realized volatility of Bitcoin. What we circled here is the period in the early 70s when individuals could once again own gold as an investment in America, and that's because of getting off the gold standard. And what you see is that in that first 5 or 6 year period, gold's volatility exploded. So in the early days, gold was a highly volatile asset. But then as Brian mentioned, once gold got to that $10 trillion market cap, the realized volatility of gold has actually collapsed. I think Bitcoin's going to undergo the same process, that today with the number of households owning Bitcoin being so small, penetration being so low, we should expect Bitcoin to be hyper volatile. But as it gets towards 90% penetration, realized volatility should drop.
So we are at the Bitcoin conference here in Miami, and we're on day 2. Day 1 was the industry day with much more of an institutional focus, and today is kind of just everyone, it's the general public. So I caught up with our digital assets team, and we're gonna get a little bit of their insights. I know you haven't seen everything, but like, what is anything like new, different, enlightening?
Well, I mean, first things first, this place is massive.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking earlier, a few years ago, I think this was hosted in a Marriott ballroom, and now we're in a facility that could host a car or boat show. So, I mean, just the sheer magnitude of the event kind of speaks to the strides of the industry itself. But beyond that, I think, you know, some of the bigger points that have been touched upon by some of the presenters, and just a lot of conversations that I'm having with investors and companies in the space. I think there's a pretty concerted effort to start building, shift focus from hodl to buildle, so to speak. There were a couple big announcements pertaining to Lightning and integrating the Lightning network with a couple of large products. Because at some point, obviously, you know, we want to have Bitcoin as this store of this pristine collateral, this amazing store of value, governed by this immutable protocol. But at some point, you're going to have to use the value that you build and the wealth that you build in Bitcoin. And I think that's been the most encouraging.
I was really surprised at how many miners I've never seen in one space. Like, I think it's very compartmentalized, but to see so many mining companies and different.
Yeah, I was very taken aback by the sheer quantity of mining companies here. I think it speaks to the fact that, I mean, mining as an industry has just effectively become entrenched in American society. People are generally fired up about it, and there's a big emphasis on, you know, the intersection of Bitcoin mining and clean energy here.
Yeah, so we're here like at the booths. I think, like you alluded to, Carrie, earlier, there's definitely a lot of mining presence amongst us.
For sure.
You're starting to see a lot more like picks and shovel plays, especially in the Bitcoin community, right? So that ranges from like on and off ramps, classic, exchanges. You're starting to see, as like we have seen from like our the demand from our institutional investors, there's more sort of service providers catering to that demand, right? So prime brokerages, custodians, wallet service providers. That's what I'm sort of seeing.
Go tell your mother, go tell somebody that Bitcoin's going to change the world and they should figure out more about it, because the number one thing you can do is educate the world on Bitcoin and let people know they need to figure out Bitcoin. And every one of you does make a difference, because I would never get those meetings if it wasn't like someone that went and said, you got to pay attention. And my last point to you, you do not sell your Bitcoin.